Hello, beloved. I am your fairy godmother, and I'm here to tell you a fairy tale for today's kids. Because fairy tales are how we pass on the lessons that we want our children to learn with laughter and magic and music. And this lesson is called First Kiss Free. Once upon a time, there was a lovely little kingdom with a king and a queen and two princesses. The youngest princess and the older princess were both beautiful and graceful and elegant. And the youngest princess loved everything about being a princess. She was charming and she remembered everyone's names and she got along with everyone. She kept up with all the court intrigues. But her older sister, who was the heir to the throne, really didn't get along with people that well. And she just didn't know how to pull off what her little sister could. And she would be awkward and she would have a trouble remembering names. And she was always so scared she'd say the wrong thing that she just wouldn't say anything. And then they would think she was rude or cold or standoffish or mean. And she was just shy and scared. And so she spent a lot of her time in the gardens because what made her feel happy and what made her feel comfortable was planting things and growing things. And so as they grew up, the little sister did more of the stuff with the royalty in the court, and the bigger sister spent most of her time playing in the garden and growing. And she even designed a greenhouse that they built and had a little trickling fountain in it. And that was where she would go when she'd had enough of dealing with all the people in the court. And one day, her mom and dad sat her down and they told her that they really needed to have a serious discussion because she was getting old enough to start thinking about getting married. And so they needed to start looking at the princesses in the neighboring kingdoms and the bloodlines. And it went on and on. And she just couldn't think anymore. And she was having a hard time breathing. And she just got up and she said, "May I please be excused? I need to go to the restroom." And they said, "Okay." And she ran to her garden and she went to her little greenhouse and she sat down near the fountain and she just started crying because she couldn't do this. She didn't know. Oh my God, they wanted her to marry someone and she had to figure all this out. And as she's sitting there with her head in her hands just wailing, she hears this voice go, "Hey, princess, what you crying about? What you got to worry about so bad?" And she jumps up and she spins around and she's looking and she doesn't see anyone. She goes, "Hello?" And there's nothing. So she sits back down next to the waterfall. She goes, "Oh." And she goes, "What's so bad? Why don't you talk to me about it?" She looks up and there's this little bright red and green frog sitting on the edge of the waterfall. And she goes, "Is that you?" "Yeah, it's me. What you think? The bush is talking to you?" She goes, "You're a talking frog." And he goes, "Well, yeah." She goes, "I've heard stories about talking frogs. I know this. You're dangerous. You are not to be trusted. Frogs who talk are bad." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. We get all the bad rap I hear. But what you crying about? You never answer my question." And she goes, "Well, it's just being a princess isn't easy, you know. They want so much out of you. You got to be perfect all the time. You got to remember everybody's names. You got to be smiling. You got to curtsy. You got to curtsy this person." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah, so hard. What you gonna do about it?" She goes, "I don't know what I'm gonna do about it." He goes, "Well, I can help you because talking frog, I am magic after all. If you want to put aside all those rumors and hearsay, I got something that could help you." And the princess goes, "I've heard this before. I know. All right, what's your story?" And he goes, "Nothing bad, nothing bad. Promise you don't have to do anything crazy. Like my kiss. All you got to do is kiss me, and I make you feel so good you won't care about nothing. You'll be able to float through those meetings. You will be charming and pretty and gracious. All you got to do is give me a kiss. And first kiss is absolutely free, just to prove the point." And she goes, "I'm not falling for this. No, sir. I know talking frogs, magical talking frogs, are bad. I want you out of my greenhouse. I'm leaving now." So she went back to the castle. She sat in her room. She said, "Well, at least I'm not upset about the princess anymore. But now there's a magical frog in my greenhouse. I don't know what to do." And she said, "And it's probably not really going to work. That kiss wouldn't work anyways. It's made up. That's all nonsense." But the next day, when she had to face the meetings with her parents again, and they wanted to meet in the library to go over the genealogy, by the end of the meeting, she was thinking about the frog. And she thought, "Well, what if his kiss could help? Because I really just, I don't know how to do this. I can't tell him. I mean, I can't tell my dad I don't want to rule the kingdom. What's he going to think? It's my whole life. This is what they had me for. Maybe I should try just that one first kiss free. No, I'm not going to go back to the greenhouse. So that night, she stayed safely in her room. But the next morning, they summoned her to the library again. And she's like, tell him I have to go to the greenhouse first. And she goes to the greenhouse and she sees the frog. She says, hello. And he goes, been thinking about it, haven't you, huh? And she goes, yeah, maybe. She goes, first one's absolutely free and there's no obligation, right? I don't ever have to do this again. I just want to test it. That's all. First kiss free, right? She goes, first kiss free, baby. Just pucker up and give me a smooch. And so she reached down, she picked up the little frog, and she said, I can't believe I'm doing this. What am I doing? What have I come to? And he goes, baby, give me a kiss. Lay it on me. And so she goes, okay. She goes, and she puts the frog back. Ooh, that felt pretty good. I was kind of loose now. It ain't so bad. You walk back up the castle, go to the library. This one's got a lot of gold. That one's got the land. By the end of the day, she's smiling. Her family's so happy. Everybody's so happy. Her little sister's happy. She's telling her about the intrigue. And the princess is like, this is kind of nice. And she floats away to bed at night. And when she wakes up the next morning, it's not so floaty anymore. And she tries her best to get through the whole day. But by the afternoon, she's back down at the greenhouse again. And she says, hello, Mr. Frog. He says, hey, baby, you're back for more, aren't you? And she says, okay, well, I know you said the first kiss was free and we didn't really talk about this that much, but how much does the second kiss cost? And he says, oh, baby, I'll never charge you more than you can afford to pay. I promise. It's simple. I just don't want to live in this greenhouse anymore. You got a castle. You got a bedroom. Build me a little tank in your bedroom. I'll just come and stay in your bedroom. And plus, think about it. I'll be close. You won't have to go all the way to the greenhouse to get a kiss. And she says, and what about the next kiss? And he says, tell you what, I'll give you a whole month full of kisses. One kiss a day. But moving into your bedroom. That's all you got to do. Give me a place in your bedroom, one kiss a day for a month. And she says, well, they know I like plants. And it's kind of going to look a little weird to have a frog in my room, but you're right. It's not more than I can pay. I mean, it's not a lot really, and it really did help. So, okay. And he goes, all right, baby, smooch me again. And so she puckered up. And she picked up the little frog. She smooched him and then she put him in her pocket. So what if she had her frog in her bed? Who's going to care? She's the princess, right? She's going to be the queen. She'll have a frog if she wants to have her frog. She floats back up to the castle and the whole next month, one kiss every morning, it's fine. Well, for most of the month. But by the end of the month, it's kind of getting to where that kiss just doesn't really last that long anymore. And so the start of the next month, she goes to the frog and she picks him up and he goes, no kiss till we talk. No. She goes, but I just want a kiss, please. How much is it going to cost? And he goes, not so much. I just want you to carry me around in your pocket. I want to hear all the gossip and intrigue and all the good stuff. She goes, that's really going to look weird, but okay. But you got to give me another whole month of kisses, 2 a day. And he says, gosh, you're a bossy girl, aren't you? You're a hard bargainer. I guess I won't have to give in to you. All right, give me a big one, lady. And at the end of the next month, she's up to 2 kisses a day, and they're starting not to be enough. But her parents are starting to notice that something's off because she isn't spending any of her time in her greenhouse, which used to make her so happy. And she doesn't care about eating anymore. All she can think about is when she's going to get her next kiss. And so her dad, the king, sits her down and he says, we have to decide on who you're going to marry. And she says, I can't do this right now, Daddy. I just can't do this right now. I'll come back tomorrow. She goes to the room and she looks at the frog and she says, I need more kisses. I need more kisses. And he goes, Well, baby, we're at the end of the month. It's time to negotiate again. Now, I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but I got an idea. Your dad wants you to get married. How about you marry me? And the princess goes, I can't marry a frog. Are you crazy? My dad's definitely going to know something's up. And he goes, well, no kisses for you. And she goes, but I need the kisses. And he says, well, introduce me to your dad. Well, tell him you got a thing for me. And that's just the truth, right? You got a thing for me. You need me, girl. And so she takes her little frog and she goes to her father, the king, and she says, Daddy, we got to have a talk. I've got a problem. I've got this. And she held out the little frog. And her dad, the king, looked at the frog in her hand. He goes, you have a frog. And she goes, it's a magical talking frog. And the frog went, yep, and licked his eyeball. And the king said, it's a magical talking frog. She goes, it is, Dad. I swear it's a magic. Say something. Just say something. And the frog just sat in her hand. And she said, but I have to kiss him. I have to kiss him a couple times a day because it makes me happy. And if I kiss the frog, I'm happy and I can deal with being the princess. And the king says, why don't you just hand me the frog? Just give me the frog. And she goes, no, I can't give you the frog. And he goes, I'm just going to study the frog. I'm just going to study it. I promise you can hold it. I'm just going to call my wise men in. And he summoned all of his magicians and his bookkeepers, and they researched the frog, and they found out that it was a highly addictive, toxic substance that she had now gotten herself addicted to. And he called forth the fairy godmother from the kingdom, and he said, Fairy godmother, I have to make a wish. Will you please, please free my daughter from the frog's kiss? And the fairy godmother said, I want to. I really, really, really want to. But your daughter has to make the wish, because until she wants to be free of the frog's kiss, she'll never be free. And so the father of the king said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Twice a day at first, I will let you into a room with the frog and you will be able to kiss him once, and that's it. But that's it. We're going to control. And so they tried that. But it didn't work because the princess had already gotten so used to so many kisses a day that she started going into withdrawal, and she got shaky and she got scared and she got sick and she was throwing up. And so finally, her father, the king, gave her the frog back because she couldn't do without it. And one day, and she's in her room, her little sister comes in, and her little sister says, honey, what's wrong? You are so sick. And is there something I can do to help? And the older princess says, no, just go away. You don't have any idea what I'm going through. It's all so easy for you. It's just so freaking easy for you. And she stormed out of the room and left the little sister in the room with a frog. And she realized that about half an hour later. And she ran back to the room. And just as she got to the door, she heard the frog going, promise you, princess, first kiss free, no obligation. And then you won't have to worry about what's wrong with your sister. It won't matter. You'll be happy too. And the princess threw open the door and she said, no more. You are not going to do to her what you've done to me. And she saw herself reflected in the mirror. And she realized she had lost so much weight and her hair was stringy and her eyes looked dead. And she saw her sister so healthy and happy. And she knew that if she didn't do something, this frog was going to be a part of their life forever. And her little sister would see her dealing with it. And so she called the fairy godmother. She said, I'm ready. I want to make the wish. I want to be free of the frogs and poison. And the fairy godmother said, okay, if that's your wish, we'll make it happen. Now, here's where I get my part of the story, because another fairy godmother would probably tell you that they made the wish and everything was happy. But this is a fairy tale for today. And today you've got to wish and then you've got to work. And she made the wish to be free of the frog's poison, and the fairy godmother gave her the strength, but they had to talk, and she had to finally tell her family what was troubling her so that she could get it out. And the family talked and they realized that she didn't have to be the queen. they had the younger princess who was already ready. And so the younger princess stepped up to take the throne and be the next in line, while the older princess went through months of rehabilitation and recovery. And every day was a struggle, but she found her garden again, and she planted flowers, and she planted the seeds of a new future. And eventually, she got her wish, and she was free of the frog's addictive kiss. And although it took a lot of work, they all lived happily ever after. The end.